Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day in this crazy world of the stock market. We're going to be giving you guys all the important details that you need to know. What occurred today, a lot of things in terms of a political basis, what we're seeing from the administration regarding the whole tariff chaos. We also have some important pieces of macroeconomic data to talk about and some more important ones coming here in the near future. And Palantir, we've been talking about that. Earnings is coming up here next week, Monday. We'll be talking about where its price action is right now, some articles that are coming out, and what we could possibly be expecting here in the near future. On top of that, huge earnings from Magnificent Seven stocks that will be reported over the next 2 days. Tomorrow, we have Meta and Microsoft. And then on Thursday, we have Apple and Amazon. We're going to be talking about what the investors and analysts are expecting and how this could have a big impact in the market. So hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. It really helps the algorithm. And thank you guys so much for watching. Pop it up on the screen here. Let's start off with Palantir. That is continuing to do very, very well in this volatile market that carries a lot of uncertainty with it. You see Palantir pops up about another percent on the day, right now sitting at 116. Ever since, in terms of this kind of just technical perspective, since Palantir broke that $100 level of resistance, we've seen a lot of buying pressure that has continued to pop into this individual stock. Now, this also could be some anticipation with earnings for Palantir coming up here, but look at last time that Palantir broke that $100 level, we saw this run up to 125. This could possibly, if we continue to see momentum in the market, could possibly be a retesting of the all-time high area, getting into the more of this price discovery mode. We are seeing some positive remarks also from the administration talking about possible deals. Now, but one thing we need to take up with a grain of salt is that the market's kind of getting sick of hearing, hey, we have these possible trade negotiations regarding the tariffs. We are in the talks of some deals. I think the market is ready to see some actual deals being made. Once this occurs, that's where I think we're going to see buying pressure coming back into the broader indexes, which could be positive for things like Palantir. But nonetheless, Palantir has been very resilient during this whole year to date so far and is doing incredibly well. Right now in the overnight hours on Robinhood, it's sitting at 114, basically shy of 115, pulling back ever so slightly, but price action's looking good. One thing that I think is kind of funny is, you have these articles coming out here about Palantir is whenever Palantir kind of goes on this run and is kind of defying the typical stocks that are, trading in the negative right now, is that you have a lot of concerns that always talk about valuation. We know Palantir is expensive. That's the number one thing that people are going to criticize Palantir with if they want to take a bearish perspective. It's the easiest thing to say is talking about its valuation. No duh, it's at a high valuation. It's been at a high valuation for a long time. But if you've been sitting there with that same story and philosophy, you've missed out on a decent amount of capital gain from Palantir just over the last few years. So you see kind of this thing being beat over the head with the same story again when Palantir does rise at its price. Talking about their substantial risk here for Palantir stock ahead of May 5th. Now, of course, what they're talking about this substantial risk is kind of just the risk for downside potential. And that is that Palantir is typically priced for perfection. One thing that has really been, kind of carried out though, or has been, supportive of the investors is that Palantir has continued to smash their earnings. If for any reason we don't see, an earnings being smashed or, guidance that's improving, that's where you have the risk for downside potential that could be high. And I think that's just a speculation behind an AI stock and a volatile stock like Palantir. But nonetheless, right here, with earnings, estimated earnings per share estimates, 13 cents it is here. Revenue correlated at 862 million. One thing that I do like to see, earning per share revisions in the last 90 days are 11 in the bullish direction. So does Palantir have to take, have what it takes to sustain growth rate over the long term? They have been doing that over the last 2 years, doing very well. You see here, UBS takes a dovish stance, they say here, having a price target unchanged at 105. That's a pretty high price target, I think. Any price target above $100 from Palantir right now is at a decently high price target, indicating here, talk about a 9% downside potential. And they also talk about, shares being overvalued at these current levels, saying that Wall Street sees a significant downside. The mean target price from Wall Street analysts right now is at $84. That indicates about a 30% dip from right here. Palantir was just at that level not that long ago. Palantir does a good job trading in these mid 80s. You can see with all the volatility that we've had all kind of through March, April, Palantir has consolidated through the 80s and likes to hang out in the mid 80s. That's a good spot for Palantir, in my opinion. So I think a lot of this article is a little bogus right here. Let me know what you guys think about that. But getting on into the market here, excited to see what Palantir brings. We'll continue to bring earnings previews as it does get closer. Looking at the markets here, let's talk about what's happening in terms of the administration, the tariff negotiations, and the big stocks that are set to report their earnings. From the Mag 7, quickly, let's look at the broader index. Market closed slightly in the green here, doing well. We saw a little bit of hesitancy, some kind of green going into the red, green going into the red. It's kind of what we saw throughout the day, finishing in the green though, up about 0.5%, continuing to see some bullishness in the market. Amazon we see dipping here, but before we talk about Amazon, what they specifically have, looking at this, we have Microsoft and Meta that are due to report their quarterly earnings tomorrow after the bell, and then Amazon and Apple are scheduled for Thursday afternoon. Now, Amazon slipped a little bit here from an earlier decline of more than 2%. After we have the White House press secretary that actually called the company's reported plan to highlight the impact on tariffs a hostile and political act. Now, what happened with that is that basically, if you didn't see that in the news, Amazon, we had seen some reports that came out saying that they were going to be highlighting on the price of their products, what percentage of that price is going to be due to the cost of imports. And they basically came out here, and this was kind of, Amazon came out with a response saying, hey, this is actually not true. This is not something that was ever approved, and this is not basically something that's going to be happening. So it was more of just something that was spooking investors in terms of that kind of mumble jumble that happened, and the fact that it sounds like it's not happening at all. It was just a little bit of some just kind of just random rumors in the market. Talking about, though, in addition to the tariffs and the negotiations that we've been seeing right here, ending on Tuesday night after Lutnick, he told CNBC that the White House was close to announcing a trade deal. Now, like I said, Wall Street, I think, is getting kind of sick of this word being close to announcing a trade deal. Didn't name the country in specific. Later in the afternoon, though, it sounds like Trump comes out and says that negotiations with India are coming along great and that the U.S. could soon strike an agreement with the nation. This could have caused some bullishness into the market at the end of the day. This is more closer to possibly seeing an official announcement of a deal. I think if we get an official announcement with the deal with India, that is going to be very bullish. And what we've seen, April, we know has been a rocky month for the markets. We saw with the reciprocal tariffs. We saw, year to date, S&P 500 has been down. Now it's coming back up. April's been all over the place. But what we're also seeing is that individual investors are really holding tight. We actually saw a lot of individual investors that are continuing to buy the dip. That's what the data is showing, while more institutional investors have panicked kind of across the board. We do have the PCE data that's also going to be due in the morning. That's the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index. And the Federal Reserve loves to use this as this preferred inflation metric. That can give us an idea of what's going to be happening with rate cuts. We know Trump is really signaling for the Fed to please cut rates. That is basically what he's saying. He wants rates to continue to be cut. Now, regarding talking about Microsoft, what we could be possibly expecting with that. Currently, Microsoft is trading at 394, sitting here up about 1% on the day. And what analysts are really thinking of Microsoft is typically pretty bullish. Revenue and profits, those are expected to jump year over year thanks to part of Microsoft's intelligence cloud segment. And all the 20 analysts that are currently covering Microsoft, tracked by Visible Alpha here, actually have a buy or an equivalent rating for the stock. With this, Wedbush analyst recently actually had lower the price target to 475 from 550. Kind of worried about these tariffs, but remaining long-term bullish on Microsoft and pointing to its AI potential. So for tomorrow's earnings call, I think a lot of the analysts are going to be waiting to hear in terms of things of how AI revenue is doing, what's AI outlook looking like, the investment into AI, return on investment, all of those big things. Analysts are really going to be looking into those metrics from Microsoft. On top of that, looking at Meta right here, price levels. Meta shares are holding steady for Monday and Tuesday. And basically what we've seen, and investors looking at key support levels on Meta's charts around 482 and 452, and looking at these resistance levels of 588 and 632. Paying close attention to the ad revenue outlook, concerns of possible broader slowdown in digital advertising, and this is here by Chinese companies and Chinese employees, these kind of lofty tariffs, one or another. So maybe we're going to be seeing how these companies are going to be reacting to the potential of these tariffs, but it seems like, maybe this could be put more behind us if we have potential negotiations that could be coming down the line. Investors could possibly be looking past this. Nonetheless, analysts are looking decently bullish right now on the current Magnificent Seven stocks that will be releasing earnings tomorrow. Palantir is looking pretty healthy. We'll see what happens with the market with the PCE data and what other type of rigmarole comes with us. Now, peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.